Welcome to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis, where every day I aim to bring you the latest UFO reports and other interesting stories from around the globe. Today is Monday, January 22nd, 2018. On Fridays at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time, join me for my talk show, The Outlander, where I answer your emails, take your phone calls, and interview some absolutely intriguing guests. Just go to irnchat.com to interact and listen live to the Outlander show. And blasting off with some very cool UFO reports, because that's all we have around here. UFO sighting in Arizona. This occurred June 14th, 2017. In brief, the witness states, saw a reflecting light in the sky. So I grabbed my camera and watched this donut-shaped UFO come into view and hover around and move in strange ways. Later, the same UFO was filmed in Britain that looked the same as the one I filmed. In more detail, the witness states, back in June of 2017, I was outside my apartment with my daughter. I started seeing a reflecting light in the sky, but couldn't see anything and did not know what it was. I grabbed my camera and started filming. And as soon as I did, this UFO came into view. This donut-shaped UFO started hovering, almost like a drone, but in weird patterns and very quickly. It also seemed to have a light in the middle of it that would come in and out of the craft, but as quickly as it showed up, it was gone within a minute of seeing it. Also, I saw just a month ago that a guy from Britain has recorded the same type of UFO. It's almost like it is the same one. I have looked and searched constantly for months now for a drone that looks like this UFO, but one does not exist. At least not one the public can purchase. Was hoping you guys could let me know what you think of the footage. Well, I haven't looked at it. All right, moving on. The next UFO sighting happened in Chula Vista, California, January 14th, 2018. In brief, bright yellow-red golf ball shape moving in a line east and disappeared in thin air. In more detail, I heard a loud sound coming from my backyard, went outside, saw a bright light. North, flying east, it moved like a laser beam. I've never seen anything move like that. I called my boyfriend to see what I saw. I thought it moved differently than a normal aircraft. It was flying in a straight line and disappeared into thin air. We were amazed at what we saw. I immediately went online to see if anyone else saw what we saw. I saw the same kind of light moving in the sky when I was younger. I never told anyone. Yeah, that's helpful. I've been hearing loud sounds coming from the sky lately, so I've been looking up at the sky a lot. This flying machine moved differently. I'm sure someone else saw what we saw. January 14th, 2018, 5:30 p.m. We also saw a plane straight up in the sky. Also, an airplane from Lindbergh Field coming in. And another right behind it, probably coming in for a landing at the same time we saw the UFO. I'm happy my boyfriend witnessed this UFO at the same time as me. Lets you know you're not nuts, right? What was weird is it disappeared right before our eyes. It was round like a golf ball sized light color of yellow, red, white, no blinking lights. The airplanes have blinking lights shaped like a triangle. They blink. Less than a couple of minutes after the sighting, a large helicopter flew over our house headed south. We were 11 miles from the Mexican border. The North Island Navy base is closed on Coronado. There has been chemtrails every day from plain white aircraft that fly north to south and south to north or northwest. I wanted to document this UFO sighting while it was still fresh in my mind. Thank you for all of the work you do to hear the population's UFO sightings. I hope I've given enough info for you to relate our UFO sighting. I kept saying to my boyfriend, "You saw that." He says, "Yes." We were amazed how the light just disappeared right before our eyes. I wish I could have captured this UFO on my camera. Yes, don't we all? Moving on, the next UFO sighting occurred in Astor, Florida. Nice, easy name. This happened January 14th, 2018. In brief, the witness states, I awoke to a bright beam of light outside my back door. I opened the door to look up, as I thought it might be a helicopter. When I stepped out, I followed the beam and looked behind me, and it came from way behind the clouds. It was almost like enormous. It was almost enormous? What? In more detail, the witness states, I awoke at 4 a.m., January 14th, 2018, to a bright beam of light outside my back door. I opened the door to look up as I thought it might be a helicopter. When I stepped out, I followed the beam and looked behind me. It came from way above the clouds and was partially in the clouds. It was like an enormous sphere with large structures on top, but way off in the distance. Ooh, that sounds really cool. I kept telling myself I was just dreaming, but went outside this morning to see where the beam of light had shone and done nothing. It was a short time frame all this happened. I did not feel anxious, scared, or upset. I realized after going over this in my mind today, it was real. Indeed, indeed. All right, the next UFO sighting. A black triangle sighting in Putney, Vermont. This is a UFO blast from the past. This occurred September 30th, 2012. In brief, they state I looked up at my home and saw a flying triangle, maybe 10 feet wide, 2,000 feet, just black. In more detail, witness states stepping out of my house one afternoon. I was headed to my shop which is across the driveway, about 75 feet. I do woodworking, so for me to be home is fairly common. I remember it was a cloudy day, a little rainy or very damp. I love living where I do, and often when I step outside, I look around. That day, I looked up and I saw a black triangle flying over my house from southwest to northeast. No sound, no lights, no markings, no exhaust trail. Given the cloud ceiling, I guess at about 3,000 feet, I would say it was smaller than a single-engine plane and larger than a drone. I saw it and said to myself, that's odd. I wonder what it is. It disappeared into the clouds, and that was it. Only in the last couple of years have I been following, for lack of a better way to explain, the ancient alien stories. I've always been interested, but when I put two and two together, I now look up every day. All right, the next UFO sighting. Black Triangle sighting in West Melbourne, Florida. This occurred January 11th, 2018. Three lights in triangle formation flew over the road and continued until disappeared behind the tree line. In more detail, my husband and I were driving east on Route 192, somewhat east of Canal South 161A. This was approximately 7:55 p.m. Well, that's pretty specific. On Thursday night, January 11th, 2018. Three lights in a triangle formation flew over the road, then over us as we passed under them. I turned to look out the passenger window and didn't see where they went. I assumed that they had belonged to a small plane that had descended below the tree line. When I first saw it, I assumed it was a small plane going to land on some farm airstrip. But then I got thinking about the lights. The front one and the one closest to me were white and steady. No blinking. The light farthest from me was steady white and also flashing green. It seemed odd this thing had no red light, as if it were a plane. Also, the more I thought about it, it was pretty big if it was a plane. It would have covered both eastbound lanes easily if it was on the ground. It had been very low and slow, but no sound. I remember thinking that the pilot was pretty bold to be as low, and unless his airstrip was really close. I honestly don't remember seeing anything between the lights, like wings, a cockpit, etc. Well, thank you for checking out this sighting. Okay, alrighty. The next UFO sighting. This occurred in Eatonville, Washington, January 15th, 2018. Sphere of light zigzagged up and down as it moved from east to southwest in the forest. In more detail, my wife and I were sitting in our hot tub when she asked me if I saw the ball of light in the woods. I then looked to the east and spotted what she first saw. The ball of light was approximately 100 yards away from us as it started to move from left to right through the woods. As it moved, it zigzagged and down very sharply by about 10 to 15 feet. The light then disappeared to the east. Immediately after the light vanished, beams of light, like a spotlight, began sweeping through the trees. Well, sounds like they lost something. A chupacabra, maybe? The entire experience lasted approximately 15 minutes. I do know there is a gravel road on the other side of the woods about a quarter mile from our back property. This road is used sparingly, and I rode my ATV to look for vehicle tire tracks the next day, but the road was undisturbed except for my ATV tire tracks that were quite visible. It did not rain overnight, so the tracks could not have been washed away. I have lived at this residence for almost 8 years and have never seen this occur before. At first I thought it might have been car headlights, but the way it was moving through the trees, zigzagging and down as it moved, I knew this was not going to be car headlights. My wife asked if it could have been someone with a lantern in the woods. I told her there was no way anyone could move that fast through the woods, and the zigzag up and down movement as it traveled was quite unusual. My wife was extremely scared, as I could feel her shaking behind me. I was thinking that if they are here to abduct us, there isn't much I can do about it. Yeah, there is. So we sat there watching the beam of light move through the trees until it too disappeared. After about another 15 minutes or so of watching to see if it would come back, we then went to bed. I am retired Air Force. With over 5,000 flight hours and seeing something like this sphere, which was approximately 14 years old in the Oregon Cascade Mountains near Middle Sister. Very strange to see it again almost 40 years later. Okay, I gotcha. You saw that then. Okay. I don't edit the stuff. I just read it. All right, this next UFO sighting happened in Peterborough, England, January 17th, 2018. Two identical rectangular objects at different heights hovering with two white lights. Is that a little Australian at the end? Sorry, I'm going to quit. Driving home from work, I noticed two distinct bright lights, approximately 500 feet, static in the sky. On closer observation, each object was rectangular with two fixed white lights, one at each side, at different heights, both motionless, probably 50 to 100 feet apart. As I drove parallel, the lights were not visible from the side or rear. Forward facing only. It was dark, approximately 6:40 p.m. January 17, 2018. The objects were between the...
Progressive presents Get Pumped. Inspiration to help you do insurance stuff.
Okay, time out. You're gonna let your budget be the boss of you? Take control with Progressive's Name Your Price tool. Tell us what you want to pay for car insurance, and we'll help you find options that fit your budget. Here's some music to get you pumped. Da-dong, 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 dang, dang. I hear your budget laughing at you. Oh, wait, that's just those kids laughing at me. Ignore them! Da-dong, da-dong,
Progressive
da-dong.
Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
A47 road in the Peterborough City Hospital. I have video footage from my dash cam available online, which can be found by searching for UFO over Peterborough, January 17th, 2018. Ooh-wee. All right, the next UFO sighting, a black triangle sighting in Reedley, California. A UFO blast from the past, July 4th, 2012. 3 reddish-orange lights in the form of a triangle. My family and I, along with one friend, were sitting in the front yard waiting for the fireworks to begin on the 4th of July. Then, in the corner of my eye, I noticed 3 distinct reddish-orange lights that were stationary to my left. I set up the video camera and began filming the formation. The lights vanished about 40 seconds after first appearing. See the video. Okay. The next UFO sighting happened in Joplin, Missouri. This occurred on April 10th, 2016. 3D picture in a cloud. Ooh, this is going to be a good one. The witness states, I am a Christian man, 76 years old, and live in Joplin, Missouri. I watch your YouTube programs regularly and have a great appreciation for you and others that bring to light the things that happen to people who have no one, usually, who wants to hear what they have to say about strange occurrences in their lives. I have had several things happen that are hard to explain, but one of the strangest happened in April of 2016. As I do fairly often, I started out the back door with a cup of coffee to enjoy on the patio. I observed the sky, that it was fairly overcast with billowy light and dark gray clouds, and then I saw something that caught my eye and could hardly believe what I was seeing. There, in the front area of one of the clouds, was an etching which was done in 3D and not just a drawing. The picture remained on the cloud for another 20 minutes as I looked at it in amazement. There was no action around the picture as long as I watched it, but after the 20 minutes it started to slowly go away, and the cloud became just another cloud in the sky. At this time, I didn't have a camera that I could take a picture of the design with, so I watched the news, fully expecting to see the cloud on the news or in the newspaper, but it never showed up. I tried to make a rough drawing of the design, but I am not an artist, so my best efforts do it no justice. The design was huge, and just for a clue, the best I could guess, it was at least as large as a football field, and the design was perfectly drawn, and it had a nice border all the way around it. It was oval in shape, not square or round. Has anyone else ever came to you with anything like this, ever? If I could get someone to draw the design for me, I would be glad to send the drawing, but the people I know who could do the drawing show no interest in doing it, so, as of yet, I still only have my rough draft. 3D projections, anybody? I don't know. All right, the next UFO sighting, this happened in St. Louis, Missouri. This happened January 19th, 2018. Very flashy lights with very loud humming sound. The witness states in more detail, I discovered the spaceship 3 years ago. I then did my own research and discovered more. Doing? You mean during the November and December of 2017, we had rainstorms coming in. I like taking pictures of the sky when things look different. I discovered them coming down in human form. Hmm? Doing again. During that time, I also realized they knew I was watching and discovered them. Round the end of 2017, I realized I had visitors in my house. I was scared at first and couldn't sleep at night, so I started staying at my daughter's home. I noticed they followed me there on January 2018, 8:30 a.m. I got up to lock the door behind my daughter and noticed there were two of them looking at me from the left side of the wall. I never imagined seeing this kind of beauty, discovery in my life. They were very peaceful. I have photos and also more details. Okay, alrighty, that was interesting. Um, Moving on, another UFO sighting in Knoxville, Tennessee. This occurred January 18, 2018. Bright, non-flashing light hovering in sky for a few minutes. We passed a house that blocked view. Then it had vanished. In more detail, we were driving home. It was around 9:15. I stopped in mid-conversation, freaking out because I saw this bright, bright light in the sky, not moving, and it's the second time I had seen it, but first time I had seen it with someone. My girlfriend drove to an opening in my neighborhood. We recorded the event. We drove past a house which blocked the view of it, then reversed. When we did this, it was gone. There was absolutely no trace of anything. Everybody follow that? Okay, I don't know. Okay, moving on to creepy and strange stories, because that's the way I like to wrap up these UFO shows. All right, this is a story called High School Possessions. All right. This person is sharing their story saying, my story wasn't really a back to school scenario, but it happened on my early days of senior high school year. Forgive my English, for it is not my first language. I bet you do better than most after reading these UFO reports. Anyways, I was 15 when one of my scariest paranormal encounters happened, and it happened under 3 days. I lived in one of the villages of the town of San Manuel in the Philippines. Our town, well, I would say that most people believe in the paranormal, and I grew up believing, fearing, and respecting the unknown. I am not the most religious person in our village. No one knows but me. But I kept my mind open to these, quote, things. The school I went to as a high school is located at the central village of our town and is one of the oldest schools there. Rumor has it that the land where my school was built on was once a cemetery or a prison ground during World War II. Security guards would tell us stories about hearing chain sounds being dragged during their night patrol in the area. Yes, our school has a night shift security guard. Deal with it. Sightings of women in white. And there is one particular area on our school that they refuse to go check in the night for a reason. They refuse to tell us kids. And guess where my story begins. Yep, you guessed that right. It was our early days of senior life, and our section was picked to clean an abandoned classroom one day due to increasing numbers of students. I didn't mind because that means we wouldn't have to go to our next 2 classes. Now, this classroom is not connected to any buildings in our school. It was surrounded by shrubs and 2 to 3 mini ballet trees. And this is the area our security guard refuses to check. Things went smoothly. We started at about 1 p.m. and planning to stop at 3 p.m. and continue the task the next day. The girls cleaned the inside, and us boys cleaned the outer area, picking up trash, taking away the trash bags, any heavy chores the girls would not be able to do. As we were closing, 3 p.m., one of the girls, we'll just call her Sherry, collapsed to the ground, but only for a brief moment as our teacher and classmates began to surround her. She got up immediately. Needless to say, we finished earlier than what was planned. They gave Sherry water and let her cool down, for she claims that she's just exhausted due to the heat. She's not wrong. The heat that afternoon was insane. As everybody rested and prepared to go to our next class, I noticed one of my classmates, we'll call her Valley. She looked scared for some reason. I brushed it off since we were all exhausted, and maybe that I just imagined it. Now, Valley was known in our class as the girl with the third eye open, meaning that she can see what the naked eye can't, a sixth sense. She's not creepy, though. She's on one of the most cheerful girls in our class, and everyone likes her. Moving on, we were now on our last period class, physics, as our professor discussed Professor Ben. I glanced at the clock, 3:45. I mumbled, "Can't this class get over any faster?" Blam! Sherry collapsed again. We tried to hold her up, but this time there is resistance. She opened her eyes, bloodshot eyes, saliva leaking from her mouth. She glared on each one of us with the most evil look, a look that gives me chills until today, filled with hate and anger. She began trashing the table, screaming gibberish words. Me and my friend John, 2 big-bodied boys, have to restrain her as my teacher tried to talk to her and calm her down. But she's strong as heck. She's not skinny, but she's also not athletic, so the two of us must not have a hard time dealing with her. She calmed down after what's like hours, but still growling. She then collapsed again. After a few minutes, she awoke without any memories of the event. My section started to calm down too now. The crying girl stopped. We were now feeling safe until another one of my classmates, Rem, collapsed too and did the same as Sherry did. We restrained her, but now Professor Ben sent a kid to get the school pastor, for he suspects something supernatural. I think so too. Gosh. The pastor came and tried to do an exorcism. Fear enveloped me as I held her, and I could see it in my friend's eyes too. I fell holding another entity and not my classmate. After a grueling battle of fates, Rem calmed down and lost consciousness and woke up after a brief moment, also no memory on what happened to her. The teachers asked us to go home now and took Sherry and Rem home too. They also had a discussion with each other, but did not share the rest with us. Day 2 in the physics class, everyone is edgy but are trying to forget what happened yesterday. Class went smoothly as expected. Surprisingly, everyone is present, even Sherry and Rem. I looked at the time again, 3:45, and I glanced at Valley accidentally. I froze. She was glaring at one of our classmates, Aries, with the most sinister glare I've ever seen in a human eye. The fear that enveloped me the last day came back again. Then she lunged. I swear to God, she lunged at him, her hands trying to grab him by the neck. Turns out I'm not the only one who noticed her, because one of my classmates grabbed Aries before she could choke him. Fear filled our room again. One kid ran out to go get the pastor immediately. Professor Ben and my friend was the one holding her down, and she's stronger than the two the last day. She was trashing, screaming, cursing, and now trying to threaten us. Her hands kept getting free, so I helped Professor Ben and my friend to restrain her as we wait for the pastor. The classroom was evacuated. We were the only ones left inside. Other kids began crowding the classroom. This spirit is more sinister than the last one. The pastor came, began to exorcise Valley, spoke in a deep voice not belonging to her. "They killed us. Now I am going to kill you." I almost let her go because of those unholy words spoken in an unholy voice. The pastor commanded the kid who summoned him to get his holy water. After an hour that felt like hours, she calmed down. I let her go, part of me still scared and relieved. I went outside. The crowd was already gone due to the interference of other teachers. Checked my phone, the video I tried to take while Professor Ben and my friend were holding her down, and saw something. A black figure, the shape of a woman, passed behind them slowly. Then Valley began to act out again, trashing and cursing. I deleted the video. The pastor.
Hello, I'd like to deposit this to checking.
Fate is a fickle master.
What?
The future is uncertain.
Okay, and what's my account balance?
The horizon is cloudy. I see a long, treacherous voyage filled with great peril.
Look, can I just get a deposit slip or something?
A fortune bank teller. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
I see a yellow-eyed serpent and a low APR.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Pastor and Professor Ben forcibly took Valley to the church for a priest to exorcise the spirit, according to the pastor, because it was just too powerful for him. Day 3, the priest asked to bless the whole classroom. Everyone on the class prayed and prayed. Valley was there too, Sherry and Rem. Everyone was just silent. When the priest was to give the final blessing and pour some holy water, Valley interrupted him and asked if she can pour it. She poured the bottle on 2 different places, and the last place she had to bring her arm up as if she was pouring it on a much taller entity than her. After the whole thing settled and back to normal, me and my friend Kenji and John asked her what she saw. The day when we were cleaning the abandoned classroom, she just said that there were 2 women in there, an old lady and a child, and they both touched Sherry before she collapsed to the ground. The old woman is the stronger and angrier one. We asked her if she could still see them. She did not answer. I don't believe that the 3 girls made it all up. Whew, that was a freaky one. Well, I have to thank you all for listening to UFO Headline News with me, Heidi Hollis. And be sure to check out UFOHeadlineNews.com every single day. And check out The Outlander Fridays, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And check out also my paranormal comic strip, The Outlanders. Just go to theoutlanderscomic.com. And if you've experienced something out of the ordinary, be sure to reach out through HeidiHollis.com or through InceptionRadioNetwork.com. Remember always to keep an open mind so you can stay informed and inspired.